Welcome back to another episode of Life Sci AI, the podcast series. And this one's a pretty special one because we're really honored to be having a very, very busy person, an influential person in the life science industry. Been asking for a number of months to try and get her on, but we're joined by the CEO and founder of OKRA Technologies, Dr. Loubna Bouarfa. And Loubna is a machine learning scientist turned entrepreneur, and she has won many awards and MIT Technology Review, Forbes Top 50 Women in Tech, and including the CEO of the Year for the Cambridge Independent Science and Technology Awards. Loubna founded OKRA in 2015, and OKRA has created a state-of-the-art AI solution suite for companies in healthcare that compiles data from multiple sources with coverage across hundreds of therapeutic areas and thousands of clinical trials. OKRA looks to combine advances in AI with hybrid explainability to deliver real-time insights, and they are making huge waves, and we're very happy to be working with OKRA as well. So please welcome Loubna to the podcast. Happy to have you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for this amazing intro, and look forward to our conversation.
Awesome. So let's start sort of at OKRA. Why did you think it was a good idea? Why was there a need initially? And I was quite intrigued about as well, because we, off the back of the last episode, we spoke about names. What does OKRA actually mean as well? Why did you come up with that sort of name?
Thank you, Nick. So I'll start with the name. So OKRA comes from okra, the vegetable, lady's fingers. That's one meaning. But the other meaning, if you look to the section of OKRA as a visual section, it contains clusters, and almost every cluster contains a number of data points. It has this visual element, and that is what we do with artificial intelligence. We cluster data into one category, and it just thought very simple to remember. It's green, and it is also related to women in STEM and science.
Awesome. And we'll go into a few of those topics then from the name during this conversation. So why OKRA? Why did you form a company? Because not everyone does. So
my journey with AI started back in 2007 or even earlier, when I actually in my studies I discovered this field of artificial intelligence, that instead of programming the machines, that you actually program them to self-learn as we do human beings, and to train them to recognize patterns and to take decisions in similar way as us. I further deep dived into this topic during my academic years by using AI into the operating table, the surgical room. How can we use AI to predict anomalies, errors during surgery? And in that research, I discovered that the healthcare industry is so evidence-based industry. It's an industry that is based on the past. You need to learn from the mistakes of the past to be able to make better decisions for the future. And that is amazing. But what the limitation that I kind of exposed with is that it is all focused on the average. So when we develop a new drug, we mostly focus how we validated which patients, and then we try to fit it in this nice bell curve during clinical trials, where we look into average patients that don't have other diseases, patients in the age that they're going to respond to the treatment. Almost we pick during clinical trials the perfect people. And that is actually very too perfect to be true in the real world. When you go to the real world, you have all the spectrums. You have patients that have multiple diseases. There is a lot of correlation, and then you see that this is not working. And when I looked at it as a mathematician, this is all coming from this beautiful theorem called the central limit theorem. If you pick your samples, that they are not randomized and there is no bias, you can fit this nice bell curve and you can apply statistics in a very simple way. But in real world, this is never the case. Our body is connected. we are biased. Doctors are biased. We have it. It's inherent. So we need to use techniques that can deal with this, the messiness of the data, the bias, the correlation. And that is where AI comes in. It brings all these elements together. It learns as it goes. And what we call in statistics outliers, because they don't fit this nice distribution, in AI, it's okay to be an outlier. It's okay to be a patient with this disease, having multiple spectrum of diseases. It's okay to be a woman in science. It's okay to not fit the norm. And I'm bringing these techniques to healthcare. First, when I left academia, I first want to get my hands dirty on the data. So I joined the finance startup, and I could just let go of applying these algorithms in real time for transactions. And then I was thinking, what is the best way to bring this into healthcare? And I looked to the healthcare ecosystem. And what I really liked about life sciences is the scale. If you look to each drug, how many patients take that drug? So if we can build an AI brain that can bring that particular drug to the right patients, regardless of their characteristics, wherever they are in the world, we can have a huge impact. And bring in that element of there is no one model fits all. This drug can save lives of multiple patients, how we bring it at speed. And that's when I discovered I should be working with life sciences, because they are the stakeholder that develops and manufactures those innovative drugs. And it's and helping them to bring this at scale will be the most impact where AI can have in the ecosystem. So this is to make a long story short. It started from a very technical background, moving into how can we bring it to life, into a space that is very, very highly regulated, but with huge impact and with huge scale.
I see. So you've sort of seen the need in healthcare for this self-learning model to enable outliers to be integrated into the drug discovery pipeline around clinical trials, so that these drugs can be more effective in the real world. But why did you decide, from an entrepreneur point of view, to start a company rather than going and joining, a Pfizer or a Roche or someone like that and developing from inside per se?
So in French, we say no prophet is born in their country. So if you bring innovation, sometimes it's much faster. You bring it from the outside. Yeah. I'm not also, my career path is not particular that will lead me to a Pfizer or Roche, coming from a heavy engineering background and applying it to multiple sectors. I think bringing that scale of innovation comes from the outside. If I go join a Roche or a Pfizer or a big company, I will be diluted because I will be the small person joining thousands of people, and then you will move to the workflow, checking emails, having meetings, and programming. That is not part of the job. Yeah. Programming happens at night. No, programming, that is what we need to do during the day, how to train these algorithms, which data to use. And so the entrepreneur in me realized early on, to bring such a scale of innovation, I need to do it myself. And it's a crazy idea. I know, to be an entrepreneur, you need to be a little bit crazy. You start, you try, it can work, it cannot work. But the amazing thing is, it was the right time. When I started, there was there was a need, especially on the commercial side. The data was kind of okay to start deploying AI. And with the pandemic and the need to transform as a life science companies, that speed up the process of AI adoption and also open up new multiple use cases where we can use AI to drive treatments to patients at scale early from very early in the pipeline to kind of where to put the bets, which molecules to pick up, to which one to commercialize. And with our products, we developed with life science companies themselves, we developed a product called Value Scope that can help predict very early on the price of a drug and the potential of a drug. So, and this can help product leads and market access to early on invest in good assets that could become potential blockbuster drugs.
Yeah.
And this is like achieving that scale, and how we can bring further this drug that we earlier recognized as potential blockbuster through the launch. We have another AI that can push that, and through the commercialization. So really trying to apply these complex algorithms to very, very, I would say, traditional pharmaceutical processes, and bring the companion on the job, like not only people, but you have your AI agents as well to drive this. It's really phenomenal. And I think this is also where the industry is going in the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. And I think the two-pronged approach there, where, you know, you have that early stage research where you can understand the pricing of drugs is super important. And then in the launch phase, to make sure that they are successful and they are getting out there and making the impact that the clinical trial suggests they can make as well. But you mentioned COVID there as quite a changer, I guess, in both the life science industry, and I imagine it was a bit of a revolutionary time to be at OKRA. So I know we weren't sort of going to delve into this too much, but I'd be just keen to know, just anecdotally, what was that like, and when did you first sort of have conversations that indicated there could be a change? And there is a faster adoption of AI in the industries and the people that you were talking to at the time.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting. Just before COVID, I was part of this group. It's the high-level experts group on AI. We were drafting the ethical guidelines in Europe, and we were talking about the requirements and explainability. And suddenly COVID hit, and then you saw the speed. You saw suddenly, no, we need to apply this technology. And you could see it. First, it started again on the commercial side, because reps and MSLs couldn't see doctors face to face. They had to deploy digital to move to how can we connect with our stakeholders if we can't meet them face to face. And the other shift that happens is in the whole industry, how we moved clinical trials from 10 years to 10 months with the COVID.
Yeah.
So it's so impressive. And also the public perception of life sciences, suddenly everyone started talking about clinical trials, about the process. And because although pharma and life sciences are a bit behind the curve in technology adoption, they were suddenly in the front of saving the world in this pandemic. And everyone was looking at them. And it's really amazing to see that in this roller coaster of inflection and change, a lot of industries are going through this change of what we call the fourth industrial revolution, where the physical world and the digital world, the lines are blurring. The organizations for the future will be composed of maybe hundreds of people, but thousands and millions of AI agents. So this is the future we're moving to. Leaders should not only orchestrate human resources in an organization, but also digital and artificial resources. How can we make humans and machines work hand in hand? And I think we could see different clients in different adoption stages. Some companies that were already started with some initiatives, they realized this is the way to go. We need to go faster. Companies that were a bit behind, they want to see how the early adopters will move on. You could see that they almost were in this denial phase. They were like, okay, we've got to change, but then they are more a kind of slower curve of change. And it's really so kind of interesting to see the different actors are moving in different streams. And I will always give my team the example of the locomotive acts when the cars first were introduced in the 1800s, where they had cars in London and US, where if you want to buy a car, you need to have a man in front of the car with a flag. And you need, because there is horses as well, you shouldn't drive more than 4 miles per hour. So imagine that took 30 years to get the man from in front of the car. So it's really, how can we move with this technology faster. So we realized early in the pandemic that we should segment the clients early on. Which ones are going to be early movers? Which ones will take time? And this helps us, and we are getting better at that. Sometimes we do start with the late stage. We can predict that they are late adopters, but we start working with them, and you could see that's not really great. Maybe it's good to focus on driving the change with early adopters and almost wait for people to fail through their digital transformation before we engage with them. So it's really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And I guess that they're saying you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Comes to mind.
It's true, completely true.
But I guess probably can have some really good anecdotes and off the record conversations about times when it's not quite worked out and you drag people kicking and streaming into the digital age when they come through. But OKRA has a really unique proposition, right? And I think that's why you guys are so successful, and why there's so many people that are interested in joining your company to be part of the journey as you guys scale through the next sort of 12 to 18 months. So just explain to everybody, what is the unique part of OKRA? Why it's not a consultancy? Why it's not a pharma company or a biotech? What is the unique part that you guys have?
So we truly believe that every company has a life of its own, and have so what makes Novartis and Roche is not only the people that work in these organizations today, but all the people that work in these organizations, all the successes and failures that were made in the past, and building that memory, that brain for each of those companies. That this actor, which is a company, has a brain of its own, and helping all the people in these organizations to move better. So what makes OKRA unique is to build these brains and tackle these middle stream of innovation, bringing these new therapies to market and make them potential blockbusters, which is a field dominated by consultancy now, and bringing that automation, that self-learning brain that refreshes it each month or each week, and bring this insight to the users, and be that one companion of the job. So we are a very strong engineering company, and bringing this innovation and be in the center of this fourth industrial revolution is what makes us unique in this space in life sciences, which is highly dominated by consultancies. But even when innovation is there, and it's either rule-based, it's very human driven, and bringing that self-learning element is what makes us unique. And people join us to be part of this evolution, to be part of this big change, because this change in some industries is a bit easier. But I give an example. In manufacturing, you can apply AI to robotics and to manufacturing processes, and it's much easier than bringing it to healthcare, because you don't have a human in the loop. In healthcare, in every sector, from life sciences to HCPs, you need to bring AI that works and empowers humans. And being part of that evolution is very important and very transformative. It is slower than manufacturing, for example, but it brings a lot of change. And I think we are at this very important point where the dynamics in the market is changing. So the competitors in life sciences are no longer other life sciences. Tech companies are becoming competition here, and they go to the patient directly, to the customer. So we need to really change pharma to make it much more reactive, much more proactive, going at speed and reaching the patient at speed. Because if we don't, we will have a complete change of our ecosystem, which is, I don't think it's in the right way, especially with the data privacy and the data regulations. We want to protect our healthcare systems and keep them cost effective, but also we need to bring that speed element. It's no longer acceptable to wait 20 years for a drug that already exists to reach the patient. It's just not acceptable. once we achieve these 10 months in clinical trials, we should not go back to the old ways.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating that the bar's kind of been set, right? Like, and that's what's, I think, will kind of create enough traction for people in, everyday walks of life. You don't know the ecosystem, you don't know. Like before I did my job, I didn't really know. Obviously, I don't know how drug discovery works, right? Like, I just thought, well, you found a drug, you put the drug out into market, and then before getting into the industry, you never realize that it takes so long once you've created the compound to get out there and be put out there. So I think if you were to go down and have focus groups now in the street, I think most people would think, because we got the COVID vaccine out so quickly, that's what it's like all the time now. For it. So you are partnering with people, right, the pharmaceutical industry, to be part of this change. So I know we're still sort of, well, I guess we're not sort of too much in the infancy of OKRA now. You guys have been going for seven or 8 years. What would you say sort of the proudest things you've done so far in regards to OKRA and the impact you've started to make on the industry?
Yeah, I think my first element of proud is the team that we created at OKRA, creating such an amazing team of engineers tackling this very complex space within pharma and highly regulated, getting to very automating very complex spaces, such as, for example, pricing in life sciences, defining the TPP automatically, this target profile of drugs from the data, getting to very complex domains and bringing automation there with AI. I think that is really a huge achievement. So in the span we raised our seed money in 2018, and in the span of these 4 years, we're working already with 6 of the top pharmaceutical companies. We are bringing this innovation that is transforming the way we work and transforming the way drugs are brought to market with such team and building this way of work, because it's not just products we build. It requires very engineering way of work to deliver such a automation on a such important space. So I think that is my that is my proudest achievement. And with this achievement, we achieved huge things. For example, we can predict the price of drugs years ahead of launch. Just imagine how much this will change. The biggest challenge for pharmaceutical companies is that they have accurate bets. They bet on drugs that they can make a potential. With this product, they can, years ahead of launch, identify and make those bets deliver. So it's no longer acceptable to to have a kind of ways of work without an outcome-driven process in the organization, because with AI we can predict sometimes with different levels of accuracies, but still better than not doing anything. So, and that is I think going through these transformations with our clients and being part of it, it's not an easy space. And I think with deliberately a choice, all of us wants to work in a space that is impactful. And bringing this impact to the world. It's working in this complex environments. And I think also from your job, Nick, you could be working doing different types of interviews much easier with less jargon. It is a deliberate choice. It comes with a big tax on it, changing behavior, the man in front of the car, really trying to bring this innovation to life. But the reward is enormous. If we can bring those innovative treatments to patients and save lives and change and protect our healthcare systems from being taken by, tech company elsewhere, and our data will be all over the world, I think that will be a really great achievement.
No, I think the team you've created is absolutely fantastic, and the impact you're starting to make in, like I said, in a very legacy-driven industry anyway. I always describe it like an oil tanker. trying to change. And sometimes we do get stuck in a Suez Canal as an oil tanker. And I definitely had less grey hairs before I joined the life science industry. So
that's why we need to move to green energy. Then we don't have oil tankers anymore. Oil should be from the past, and that's what we try to do in pharma. Let's move to the new green, which is with more AI-driven technologies.
Absolutely, data-driven is definitely the way forward, and AI-driven and self-learning is absolutely the way forward. But as yourself, like, growing a company is always hard, and it's we just said it's harder in life sciences. And we've had a number of CEOs on this podcast series so far. But what's it like to be a CEO? And then a follow-up question is, what's it like to be a woman leader in the life science industry?
Yeah, I think it was never a deliberate choice to go for a CEO. It's about bringing a business into life, bringing a product into life that is a game changer, and what comes with it is the other elements of a CEO job, which some of it is exciting, some of it is part of the job, and once you take it as part of the job, then you accept it. So it's really amazing, as I said, to lead such an amazing team and to bring that vision, and how can we move there, create that mechanism that, what is important for us as a business is the user centricity, driving the change. And there are a lot of elements to that. So it's this is the North Star, but how to get there is always, the devil is in the details. So keeping that conversation open, and sometimes it's not easy in such complicated space, because every one of us, when you are when you're an expert in what you do, you are in a kind of tunnel vision. So bringing people from that tunnel vision to what really matters. Let's not forget about the bigger goal here. And I think that is one of the important tasks for CEOs, to bring that element. And I really, as much as I enjoy it, but it's a learning curve. It's learning every day, and being humble to move from down up to get that right. Yeah. On the second question, you mentioned as a female leader in STEM and in life sciences. I always, since I started my study, I was always a minority. So, and I never saw myself different than any male colleague. I just felt like we are all equal. We are trying to solve a problem. And engineering, I think, it is you're very problem focused, very problem driven, but of course, it's not easy when you're a minority. You question yourself sometimes, but I think it's also a privilege to be driving a business as a female leader around, in this revolution of tech, and it has also its advantages, connecting with other female leaders, and a lot of male leaders driving innovation. So it's really, our goal is drive innovation, and we're very happy to be, I think I could say, gender equal now as a business. Also, our engineering team is equal, which is, almost. So 50-50.
That's always a hard, and I remember having a chat with Eva van Rixort, who's the CEO of Tarina in Nijmegen, and we had a similar kind of conversation. You don't see yourself as any different, but it seems that scaling a company as a female leader tends to bring 50-50 a lot better. Because it's more likely to get 50-50. And I was chatting with Carolina Aguila, who's the CEO of InBrain in Barcelona, about the same thing. They have almost female dominated business now on the engineering side of things, and it creates an environment that's so much more conducive to innovation, to collaboration, to problem solving. A shameless plug for the England women's football team now. The men couldn't do it, but the women could.
Yeah, so, with a great leader. You see an example of a leader.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, my mum brought me up, and she was a chartered accountant, And so that's a male dominated, was chartered? I can't remember. I'll say she was chartered. But in a male dominated environment, she was always a bit of a trailblazer as well. So I think, yeah, for you, the challenge is sometimes when you doubt yourself, right? Because you are a minority in the room most of the time. But thankfully that's starting to change, and there seems to be a real good network in Europe around other female leaders in STEM. But looking at what's coming next for you in terms of, you know, female in STEM, how do you reckon we can, because in the UK it's a big problem. It's a big challenge, female in STEM at university, even in A-levels. I know you have an operation in Leiden and in Cambridge. So what do you think steps could be done? What steps could be done to improve or to highlight STEM subjects to young budding female engineers?
Yeah, I think we need to make STEM subject sexy for girls, because at the moment they look from the outset as boring, as not made for girls. And since very young age, we give the nice, beautiful doll for a girl and car and engineering Legos for boys, which actually from very early on, we are driving that bias into our children. And this should change. For parents early on, education systems. Okay, if you make that choice, at least make the curriculums to be interesting and to be to have flowers and to have colors and to make it interesting for girls. It starts very early on. And later in age, drive, like with my manager. So when I see gender balance in one of the teams, I say, well, couldn't you find a girl in this role? And then the next time they are more attentive and they take it into account that, yeah, we should actually think about our gender equality. So leaders should also be very aware of that and make their team aware, because our biases, we've been programmed for hundreds of years to in this way, and we need to rewire it. We need to make a conscious choice. This should change. These assumptions are not correct. So we need to change it. We need to bring women to technology. It makes it more inclusive. The advantages, technology becomes inclusive, technology becomes unbiased. We have both genders working on it, more ethnicities, more diverse teams. It will tackle a lot of big problems we have today in our society. Yeah. So it is no more a kind of an aesthetic choice. It is a fundamental choice to make profits. Yeah. Because it's related. Once you make good technology unbiased in this new age of the fourth industrial revolution, you're going to make more profits because of that. So it is important to do that.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, in my household, it was definitely equal, because I cannot do anything engineering and my sister is in computer science. So I'm really bad at DIY. I'm really bad at engineering. Everything that the archetypal male should be able to do, I can't. So
it's also unfavorable for men. It's like almost you put both genders in very in this where they don't belong. You should let them to choose it themselves during the process of learning.
Absolutely, and hopefully that should. I mean, you did a really great job, and Anna does amazing with your talents at OKRA in bringing amazing people on board. And what does just sort of looking at the future then for the last sort of couple of minutes, what is OKRA looking like across the next sort of 6, 12, 18 months? What does the future hold for you guys as a business?
So as I also tell the team, and the next phase for us is really about crossing the chasm as a startup to move into scale up. I think that is one. And what comes with that is we've been playing our music. We've been playing our music without cheats, because we've been doing things differently. It is innovation to this new space. Now is the time to create the sheets. So putting all the notes for the music there, writing it down, because we need, as we scale, we need to have a kind of structured way. And that is so bringing more people from, as I call the city, so people that are into the business, which is we transition from this innovation to now what do you call it? Establish it and make
Yeah.
it a lifestyle, a way of work, rather than all of us we're this innovation engineers, we do things this way, but really establishing it in a way that it can bring change at scale. So that is the next phase, and the expansion with our existing customers, working with new customers and bringing this innovation.
Awesome. No, I think the scaling phase is always when it gets really exciting, but always challenging, right? Because how do you keep the balance of innovation versus scalability and robustness that you need to quickly scale for your processes? So a challenge way above my pay grade, but to be tackled by people like you who are way smarter than I am. I think it's been a great episode, and there's been some really great tidbits of information there for people to take away around female leadership and around what we can do in promoting that. I'm gonna have a shameless plug for the Women in Discovery Roundtable that we have as well at Cypro, done by Molly Edwards and Jessica Woodgate. So I'll put a link into that. So if Loubna, if you want to follow up and see those guys as well for their roundtable, they do some great work and some discussions around that. So if any leaders or anybody who's looking to become a leader in this space is listening to Loubna and thinking, how can I be connected into this industry? That sort of network is awesome. And then also what you guys are doing at OKRA is so unique. And the value proposition there is something that's not been there before, in that sort of intersection between AI and pharma, and it being a product that goes across different areas. So I think keep banging the drum for what you're doing, because it's incredible. And it's been an honor to have you on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for sharing our voice and for helping us reach more audience. And yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you. And looking forward to this roundtable.
No worries. And if anyone wants to get into contact with you, how do they do that? What's the best way? LinkedIn or send an email? What's the best way? Because there's probably people.
I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and you can send us an email to hello@okra.ai. So we are always great to connect with the wider community and to share our passion with the rest.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. Bye.